it said something new it didn't know before because it can only learn what you teach it, right?
Right. It can only learn what you teach it, but so that's a really good point actually, because what we are trying to do now in terms of what's going on in the industry is so large language models work pretty well when you ask it something related to the training, what it's been trained on. But how do you train a large language model to respond to new information,
Or new questions.
new questions?
It doesn't have the information yet. You have to basically maybe teach it, hey, call Monas or call Daniel. He'll tell you about blah blah blah, right? Or something like that.
Right. So that is a problem that is, I think, yet to be fully solved out, where how do we train a model to respond to new questions or we call it new knowledge. That's the term, kind of being used in the industry. How to train a large language model to respond to new knowledge.
To which I have seen, I've been invited to some of them and I've participated before I realized it was AI generated the questions. And probably they were going to use my answers to store it in a database to which I would have no copyright or privilege or monetary benefit for. And they're asking me questions. They find that you're an expert on something and then they just start asking you questions. Do you know what I'm talking about? Services like that?
Yeah, there are services like that. I mean, I think you're probably, what you're alluding to, if I understand correctly, is basically model evaluation, where you would ask a model a question and then you see how it responds. And then maybe you like the response, you rate the response a particular way, or if you don't like the response, then you can possibly edit it and tell the model, hey, here's a better response. And the model will actually learn based on the better response that you provide to the model.
Well,
So,
for example, Quora, popular site online, you ask it anything. And normally it has a database of experts that you join as an expert so people know who you're talking to. So I'd get questions by email. It could be about life coaching or rock climbing or songwriting. And I'd start answering them like, hey, I'm a kid in my bedroom trying to learn guitar. Any recommendations? I didn't realize they were AI generated questions. I was not speaking to an actual individual.
right,
System trying to determine what kind of questions someone might ask and then gathering data, which is
right.
good. Except we're not really getting paid for it or any
You know, that's you become a good point. So you know why they're basically, Quora or probably other companies, they're using your response and others such as yourself responding to those questions to further train their models.
yes.
It's the same situation I see on LinkedIn. I get prompted
Mm-hmm.
all the time. Hey, you're an expert invited to answer this question.
Right.
I mean, basically they're going to be using my answer
Yep.
to feed into their LLM.
And you think you're getting credit and recognition as an expert and that it's going to help your LinkedIn profile and your career, when in fact, you probably won't get any recognition or credit for it. And now your knowledge that you've worked so hard your whole life, they kind of own, right? They own that information. You don't have a copyright to it, right?
Yeah, there's no copyright per se. For example, I may have a website, I publish a blog post, and there's a 99.9% chance that one of those bigger large language models, whether it's OpenAI or Gemini or Claude, they have already trained their models based on that blog post perhaps I published or others have published all over the internet. As I said, right, some of these larger LLMs, in my opinion, they basically run out of data freely available on the internet to train their models at this point in time.
Would you recommend or not recommend or not have an opinion on should people be careful about arbitrarily answering questions online such as this unless they know it's a person and not AI? Should they check first to see who the author is? Is it helping
Well,
society? Are they really helping society or are they potentially that's how they're going to lose their job because they're not even getting credit for it. So the system doesn't even know next time, hey, that was a good answer. Call this guy, ask him.
well, it's always good to know who's asking the question. Is it a human being asking the question, or is it an AI that's going to be asking the question? I think it is very important to be transparent about the intent.
Mm.
So I think